Welcome back, fellow myth-mashers and history-heisters, to another glorious dip into the what-if pool. Before we dive headfirst into this epic hypothetical, do me a solid. Smash that like button if you're ready for some dynamic mythological interactions, and subscribe to join our growing legion of legend lovers. Today, we're not just twisting a tale. We're taking the mightiest hero of Greek legend, Hercules, and giving him a thunder god for a sidekick. Get ready for chaos. Ah, Hercules. The dude was strong enough to bench press a mountain, but apparently not strong enough to stay out of Hera's bad books. After a tiny misunderstanding involving his family, thanks divine manipulation, our favorite brawny demigod found himself staring down a list of chores longer than a god's ego. 12 monumental labors specifically designed to make him wish he just opened a nice quiet pottery shop. From lions whose fur laughed at swords to hydras who played whack-a-mole with their own heads, these tasks were, well, Herculean. But what if, just as he was psyching himself up for round one, a certain golden-haired, hammer-swinging, cape-fluttering Asgardian decided to drop in for a spot of monster mashing? Imagine it. Hercules is getting ready to wrestle the Nemean Lion, probably doing some last-minute tricep stretches, when, bam! A rainbow beam slams down and out steps Thor, Odin's son, Prince of Asgard, God of Thunder, and apparently a big fan of making grand entrances. Now, there's definitely a moment of awkward silence. Maybe Thor tries to compare bicep circumference. But then, Thor, being Thor, ever the eager participant in glorious combat, booms, "My friend, this labor sounds like an excellent opportunity for glorious battle. Count me in!" And Hercules probably just blinked hard. First up, the Nemean Lion. This furry fiend had a hide so tough, swords bounced off it like rubber chickens. Hercules usually had to resort to a good old-fashioned chokehold. Boring! With Thor in the house? Thor, being Thor, sees this as a minor warm-up. He calls down enough lightning to power a small city. The lion, instead of being choked, is now just very singed, and probably has a headache that vibrates. Hercules, meanwhile, is standing there, still holding his club, thinking, well, that was undeniably loud. This, my friends, sets the tone. Forget strategic struggles. Welcome to the age of Overkill. Each labor becomes less about Hercules' ingenuity and more about Thor's boundless enthusiasm for property damage. Labor 2. The Lernaean Hydra. More chaos. Next, the Lernaean Hydra. Chop off one head, 2 more sprout. Hercules usually needed his nephew Iolaus to basically cauterize the stumps with fire. But with Thor? Thor doesn't just cut off heads, he aims for complete, utter, delightful annihilation. Which for Thor usually involves smashing things with Mjolnir and calling down enough thunder to make Zeus himself nervous. Imagine the sheer, unadulterated, glorious chaos. Instead of 2 heads growing back, you'd have a smoking, molted, cratered mess, a very annoyed Hydra, and Thor proclaiming, "Another victory for Asgard, and wherever these delightful swamps are." The cauterizing part is handled by pure, unadulterated, blinding lightning. The Hydra is less defeated, more utterly atomized, and probably smells faintly of ozone for a week. The Cascade of Overkill. Labors 3 to 6. This pattern, my friends, absolutely continues. The Erymanthian boar? Thor probably just hurls it into low Earth orbit. The Cerenian hind? Thor lassos it with a bolt of lightning, then tries to teach it to fetch Mjolnir. The Stymphalian birds? Just a good old-fashioned thunderclap that turns them into startled pigeon confetti. And the infamous Augean stables? Forget cleverly diverting rivers. Thor probably calls down a storm so apocalyptic it washes the entire stable and probably the next 3 villages into the Aegean Sea. "See, my friend," Thor would boom, wiping his hands, "cleanliness is next to godliness, and a bit of a flood never hurt anyone permanently." The social impact, a hero's reputation, changed. Now, while the labors are getting done at speeds that would make Hermes blush, there's a slight snag: Hercules' reputation. He's supposed to be the ingenious, strong, resourceful hero. But now he's just Thor's buff mate who occasionally nods. People would be whispering, did Hercules even do anything, or was he just holding Thor's cape? Was that giant boar meant to land on my prize-winning vineyard? Hera, meanwhile, would be absolutely incandescent, probably contemplating a new, even worse curse. Her plan for humiliation wasn't just being failing, it was being spectacularly, thunderously, and annoyingly overcome by an unexpected third party. Her headache just got a whole lot more thundery. The more difficult labors: stealing, tricking, and underworld trips. But what about the labors that aren't just about punching things really, really hard, like stealing the belt of Hippolyta, queen of the Amazons, or capturing the mares of Diomedes? Thor isn't exactly known for his subtlety. He'd probably just fly down, smash a few non-essential trees, and boom! Give my friend the pretty belt or face the glorious might of Asgard. The Amazons, frankly, would be more annoyed than impressed. And the man-eating mares? Thor probably just zaps them until they're very, very docile, and perhaps a bit singed around the edges. And venturing into the underworld for Cerberus, Thor would likely attempt to smash down Hades' front door, demanding to speak with the manager about the 3-headed dog. Cerberus, instead of being wrestled into submission, would probably just cower in fear from the sheer amount of thunder, whimpering like a particularly scared puppy. "Good boy, monster," Thor would proclaim, patting its biggest head. The Golden Apples and Atlas's Burden, the true test. But the true final tests would be the golden apples of the Hesperides. Hercules usually had to trick the Titan Atlas into getting them. Thor, he'd see a giant dragon, Ladon, guarding them, and think, "Excellent, a noble beast to test my glorious might." There would be absolutely no trickery involved, just a thunder god versus a giant dragon, probably causing a continent-wide power outage. And then the ultimate labor, holding up the heavens for Atlas. Hercules traditionally takes the immense weight. Thor, he'd probably see Atlas struggling, pat him on the back with enough force to cause a small earthquake, and say, "Fear not, giant, this is but a trifle for a god." Then he'd casually lift Mjolnir, somehow using its sheer, baffling magic to just support the entire celestial sphere. Or perhaps he'd just conjure a truly colossal amount of raw cosmic energy to hold them up, making Atlas completely, utterly redundant. There, all better. The aftermath. A new mythos. So, what's the grand, thundering takeaway? Hercules finishes his labors in record time, but his personal growth is probably stunted faster than a frost giant in a sauna. He hasn't learned patience, or ingenuity, or even how to properly wrestle a 3-headed dog. He's learned that if you have a ridiculously powerful friend with a magic hammer, you can skip most of the hard work and just let the thunder do the talking. Hera would be absolutely livid, her vengeful plans utterly thwarted by an Asgardian who doesn't even understand basic Greek bureaucracy. Zeus, on the other hand, would probably find it hilarious, inviting Thor to every Olympic feast thereafter, much to Hera's eternal fury. And the myths would be completely rewritten, no longer tales of Herculean ingenuity, but of Thor's glorious, thunderous, slightly clumsy interventions. So, if you learned that having a Norse god on your side makes your impossible tasks laughably easy, incredibly loud, and significantly more explosive, then you've definitely learned something new today. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this chaotic clash of titans. Subscribe for more impossible what-ifs, where we twist the fabric of reality for your entertainment. And tell us in the comments below, which mythological hero would you like to see Thor team up with next? Maybe the cunning Odysseus, or the mighty Gilgamesh? The possibilities are as vast as the Bifrost itself. Until next time, stay legendary.